Okay. Great. I'll get started. Hello, I'm Bob Neustadt. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies. On behalf of the entire DataCon LA team, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Startup Showcase 2021. Today is the fourth time that DataCon LA has held a Startup Showcase. And what is that? It's a pitch competition for cash and prizes. Here's how the Startup Showcase worked. 5 finalists have been selected from dozens of applicants. Today, each presenter will deliver a 5-minute pitch to our panel of 4 judges. Following each pitch, the judges will have 5 minutes to ask questions. Finally, we'll take a few questions from the live audience. After all finalists have presented, the judges will decide which startups are the winners. And the live audience will be, this is a message to you. We will be collecting questions for our finalists in the QA tab located to your right of the hop-in screen. So thank you for attending. So let's meet our judges who will introduce themselves, starting with Keith Carmusa, Global Chief Data Officer at Initiative.
Hi, it's really nice to meet everyone, and it's a great pleasure to be here judging the Startup Showcase. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I work at IPG Initiative, and I help clients use smart data and big data technology to help them with customer acquisition and with customer care. I have about 25 years of experience leading insights and data science teams. Prior to Initiative, I worked at HBO and I worked at Warner Media. And prior to that, I worked at Yahoo and several other firms. So I'm very excited to be here, and I look forward to all the presentations.
Thank you, Keith. And our next judge, Nancy Hammerman, Senior VP at Sutton Capital Partners.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. As Bob mentioned, I'm with Sutton Capital. We're a technology investment banking firm, and we're focused on lower to middle markets, working in M&A, strategic advisory, and capital raising. We work with a lot of founder companies, and we specialize in SaaS, B2B, fintech, tech-enabled services. My role is to head up research, work very closely with founders, try to understand and tell their stories effectively. I'm also the co-founder of the Recurring Revenue Conference, the largest SaaS conference in Southern California. I spent 20 years in publishing, new media, content. I worked for 3 startups, always on the marketing and biz dev side. Outside of my day job, I am an angel investor in about 50 companies and an LP in 10 early stage funds, again with a focus on SaaS and B2B. And I serve on the boards of LA Tech for Good and the Women Founders Network.
Well, thank you, Nancy. And our next judge, Jean Holm, Deputy Mayor for Budget and Innovation at the City of Los Angeles.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jean. And as Bob said, I'm the Deputy Mayor for the City of Los Angeles, focusing on budget and innovation, 2 very odd things to combine. But when you think about it, actually, capital and ideas are the trade today. I just want to welcome everybody who lives, works, and plays in Los Angeles, and hope you're having a good virtual DataCon this year. And hopefully we'll be back together again next year in a more physical way. I have been at the city for a few years, and we focus on obviously providing city services. We've been very focused on COVID vaccination and testing and making sure that the services are available to all of you who are in the city during this time. And I hope that all of you are well and safe and that your families are well and safe. Before I came to the city, I spent 32 years at NASA building big data technology systems for them, 6 years at the White House. Some of you may have heard of data.gov. I was one of the founding members of that team and the architect and evangelist, formal government title there, for open data in the US government. And then I spent several years with the World Bank in Sub-Saharan Africa working on open data and work with education and training. So just really grateful for all of you and the amazing ideas you're bringing forward today, and to the rest of the judges.
Thank you, Jean. And our final judge, David Waxman, partner at 10110 Ventures.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. This is not our first rodeo with big data and DataCon LA, and super happy to be a part of this again. And like Gene, we really hope that the next one is in person. I am a founding partner at 10110 Ventures. We're an LA-based seed stage investment firm. We've been around since 2013, and we very much focus on data and applications of data, and particularly in big industries and sort of the operating system that's all around us. So we make a lot of investments in logistics and health tech and property tech and med tech. And so these big industries that are all kind of figuring out how to use their data, maybe for the first time or maybe for the second time, but they're starting to use it for more automation and to just make their businesses and our lives better. You heard from one of my partners, Gil Elbaz, this morning as a keynote speaker, and my partner Minnie, I think, did this showcase last year. So we're very much a part of this community and happy to be.
Thank you, David. And thank you, the rest of the judges, powerhouse team. So we'll be starting the first pitch in just a minute. Let me explain a bit more about the prizes. The prize for third place will be $250. For second place, $500. And the first place winner receives $1,000, along with a private meeting with 10110 Ventures. The winners will be awarded their prizes at tomorrow's networking event, so be there. The winners will also be posted on the DataCon LA website. And that's it with the introductions. It's time to begin the pitches. Please give a warm welcome to our first presenter, Chijok Ejuma, a founder, Transformax.
Thank you, Bob. Hi, good day, everyone. It's actually such an honor and pleasure, to have every one of you, set up this startup showcase event. Without much further ado, I'll kind of, give you guys a sense of feel of what we've been doing at Transformax that we're very excited to share with everyone. Share my screen. So, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
So like I alluded previously, I'm actually the founder of Transformax. Prior to starting Transformax, I worked as what they call a full stack developer, a data engineer, and a data scientist for numerous startups. But the whole inspiration behind founding Transformax was after working as an electrical systems engineer on a light rail transit project here in our hometown of Los Angeles. So working on that project, that's actually what inspired the founding of Transformax. In a nutshell, what we do at Transformax, basically is reducing the energy losses up to about 40%, ensuring that rail operators achieve huge, significant energy savings. Besides the energy savings, but also ensuring that in terms of their rail network availability, it's high. So when I get to talk to people about what we do about in Transformax, the first question that comes is, why the traction transformer? The reason behind the traction transformer is that working on this light rail transit project, I witnessed firsthand the failure of a traction transformer. We were conducting what they call a system integration test, which sort of almost like we're trying to mimic when the train is operating during the peak hours, how the traction transformer can actually withstand that load. Unknowingly for every one of us within what they call a substation, we were not able to realize that the traction transformer was about going to fail. And when it failed, the amount of time it took an astronomical amount of time. It took roughly about 4 weeks to get the traction transformer back up to speed. And not to mention even the time it took to diagnose what the problems are. But besides even affecting the rail traction network, the challenge about the problem about why traction transformers are very important is that it also affects the train's performance. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So what happened? So what led to that problem during the project? What led to the problem that we're not actively monitoring the energy losses coming from the traction transformer? And that worsened to the point where we experienced the power network outage, which resulted to the failure of the traction transformer, which is the traction power equipment. Seeing all of that unfold inspired the founding of Transform Max. What does Transform Max? What are the benefits of Transform Max? The key benefits of Transform Max, first of all, is that we can now be able to reduce the amount of energy losses up to about 40%. Not to mention, we can now ensure high availability, which from our estimate we can be able to reduce about $4 million of monthly losses being incurred currently. Definitely, I'll be happy to dive deeper into all those numbers, if time permits. Then, last but not the least, is that we can also now extend the useful life of the traction transformers, helping the rail operators gain huge amount of value from their already capital expenditure. So how are we doing this at Transform Max? So the way we're doing it at Transform Max is, so typically within the rail line, there's always a traction transformer within a 1 mile radius. So giving an example of what we have on the screen here is just like giving an example of, okay, 3 mile, a 3 mile rail track. So we have because Transform Max is a combination of hardware and software. So we have our, what we call our smart edge agents installed at each and every one of these substations, getting data from the current, the voltage, the power, and the environmental sensors. Now we can now be able to stream it into the cloud where we have our already robust big data infrastructure to process the data, then pass it through our advanced artificial intelligence algorithm. From there, we can be able to, equip operations and maintenance professionals, engineers, and asset managers, be able to detect abnormal conditions, such as, let's say, there are insulation damages on the traction transformer, which is part of what's going to cause that increase in energy losses. There's something like loose connections. Is the traction transformer underloaded, overloaded? With that, we can now be able to estimate how much amount of energy losses. They can also be able to set alerts in form of receive alerts in form of text and emails, and that will ultimately help in curbing these energy losses and helping rail operators realize the most amount of revenue from their expensive capital expenditure. However, why are we doing it right now? The reason why we're doing it right now is that the electrified rail systems market is estimated to be about $26 billion. The reason being because of the increased demand for sustainable transportation. But besides that, with the high-speed rail projects coming up in the US, the high-speed rail projects would also have, like I alluded previously, at each 1 mile, there will be a traction transformer. So we see this as the perfect opportunity for Transform Max to gain market share from this evolving industry.
Hey, Chijok, you're just about out of time, and we want to get to the questions. So,
thank you. So I would I'll just run through the slides, but basically, besides the economic benefits, also like environmental benefits. Here just gives you a snapshot, a feel of the competitive landscape. Where we stand against our competitors. We're a team of 3, like I alluded previously. The whole inspiration behind working on this came from working as an electrical systems engineer on a light rail transit project. And also, I've also been opportune to work around what they call autonomous vehicle solution. We see this come in handy in terms of our our overall roadmap at Transform Max. As far as our milestone, the key message to pick out from here is that we are currently engaged in pilot engagements with rail operators here in the US and also within Europe. And the conversations have been great that we see that by the end of this year, huge likelihood for we to secure a pilot customer. Here gives you a sense of feel of our business model. I wouldn't delve deeper into this, but I'll be happy to take more questions on this. That's all from myself. I'll be happy to discuss with anyone about a specific pilot partnership or investment partnership into a better and more sustainable transportation future. Thank you. I should probably.
I'll jump in.
I should probably share it.
So just help me understand because I'm not an expert in this area. Is the infrastructure to run your software already there? Like at the transformers, do you already have connectivity? Do you have compute? Or are you putting your own devices there? How does that? What is setting it up involved?
That's a very great question, David. but you already sound like an expert. However, so there are two ways we can deploy our solutions. The challenge is that the current the rail operators, some of them are not so vast about the current technologies they have in place. And somehow, the way I look at it is in terms of, warranty requirements. If a previous vendor installed an equipment where we can be able to ingest that data to our platform, it introduces warranty challenges. So that's why for us at Transform Max, we have our hardware that will be connecting to their almost like their system for us to be able to ingest the data. So we'll be connecting in our hardware and ingest the data to the cloud where we can do all the processing.
Thank you. I got more if no one else is raising their hand. I'll ask one more question real quick. So just once again for understanding the product, it's monitoring, but it's not control. Is that correct? So the mitigations that people have to take aren't through your software. It's things that they're learning about the system and then going to fix with pliers and hard hats.
Like I said, I believe you're an expert in this. Yes, we are monitoring, but our product roadmap is beyond monitoring. Based on the amount of team resources that we have, what we're already providing right now from monitoring is huge in terms of the amount of opportunities, in terms of the amount of cost saving and improving availability of the rail system. So we're first of all going ahead on that, and within our product roadmap we have the control piece and other pieces.
I'll jump in here. So I know even less than David, but I wanted to ask you about your ability to predict failures, because that's one of the things that really came through to me. And how frequently do failures take place, and what is the cost of those failures?
Very great question, Nancy. You all sound like experts on this panel. So if you look at the slide that I shared, so we can be able to help them reduce revenue losses of about $4 million. How do we estimate that $4 million? Is, for example, if there are 4 incidents that happen within the traction train line on a monthly basis, 4 incidents related to the traction transformer, and also we assume that about 10,000 passengers are being conveyed on average daily in a month, and each and every one of them pay about $100 for their monthly train fare. So that equates to about $4 million of revenue losses we're preventing the rail operators from losing. And I can delve more deeper why the $4 million is that we're being super pessimistic. If you're the type like me that uses the Los Angeles metro station, the incidents could be as high as on a day, not even a month, they could actually be as high as 7 to 15 incidents on a day, not a month. So the amount of opportunity of revenue losses we can help reduce for the rail operators is huge.
Okay, well, thank you. We would move to Q&A questions, but none have come in. So judges, if you have an additional question you'd like to ask, we have time for that.
Yeah, I have one. So it sounds like you're using a variety of data fusion and predictive analytics to try to understand the potential risk of failure. What's the timing threshold? So are you finding things, is the idea that you're going to be able to notify somebody as a failure is occurring, or is it minutes or hours before?
It will be minutes or hours before the failures occur. By the way, very great question. It will be, I'm so happy to have this panel that understands, what we're doing. Yeah, it will be, minutes or hours before the failure occurs. But really, what differentiates our system with current system is that with current system, they only monitor the set points. So it's only when it's beyond the set point. But ours, because it's only if you're monitoring that variability, because as the train moves, you experience like nonlinear loads. And the only way you can be able to estimate the failures before they happen is if you're monitoring it actively, like we are monitoring it, to be able to forecast ahead of time. So that's where our system, kind of sets itself apart with, current system in place.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we're out of time, and I want to move on to the next finalist. And you can stop sharing your screen. Please welcome the next finalist from Folio Photonics, CEO Steve Santamaria.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present to the panel and to the audience, and I hope we get some great questions and dialogue going here. Sorry. Recently, John Monroe, a Gartner analyst, wrote an article about archival data storage. And in it, he made the comment, computers come and go, but data remains and it grows. And this is a fundamental problem with anyone with a data center, as the data center is growing at an unfettered rate and is projected to be in the zettabytes. And the challenge is, how do you store all this data? How do you store it for 100 years? So I'll introduce you to Folio Photonics. It's a next generation data storage technology, and we use fluorescence and photonics to deliver sub $3 per terabyte data preservation capability. This is a very disruptive price, a disruptive solution that is both affordable, targeting a life of about 100 years. It's immutable, meaning that it's protected via various encryption, air gap, and worm technology. It's viable, so it's resistant to high heat, low temperatures, electromagnetic pulses, and is efficient in terms of energy efficient. We're US based in Ohio and in Colorado. We have patents across the board, and we're looking to develop and bring to market a new economics for data storage. And just to put it in perspective, data storage, the archival data storage piece alone is worth $10 billion in 2025, and it's at 4.5 zettabytes. Our breakthrough is in the convergence of material innovation and advanced manufacturing process and optics. So we're using to make our disk, and if you can see here, I have a sample of one in my hand. We use next generation fluorophores, nanoparticles, and quantum dots to create a fluorescent material of which we write and read to. This is a very different than current technologies, which are either magnetic based in terms of tape, spinning hard disk, and SSDs, or even an optical like Blu-ray. Our low-cost manufacturing, rather than the traditional mechanism where a disk is layered via spin coating where material is deposited on it, what we do is we produce a film, and here's an example of a 16-layer folio film that alternates between active layers of the fluorescence that we talked about and buffer layers, and then we can do a very easy cut, laser cut, and then an adhesion to a standard disk substrate. We try to use as much of the optical disk industry that's in place so that we can reuse a lot of that hardware and a lot of that technical expertise in terms of components. And we've also developed a next generation optical pickup unit, which allows us to focus not on just the standard 3 layers that is typical of Blu-ray, but this disk here has 16 layers per side that's based off the film. And we have tested to 80 layers, which gets us the scale capacity and the amount of data that can be stored very easily. So why does this matter? Look, there's a growing world of data. The speculation is by 2025, we will generate 175 zettabytes of data. And to put that in perspective, it goes 175 zettabytes is 175,000 exabytes. It's 175 million petabytes, and it's 175 billion terabytes of data. So there's a lot of data, of which that data, more and more people cannot delete it. You want to store it. You want to store it forever. You want to store it for a long time. Now, there's a computational data that's used by SSD that helps you do transactions. But think of your photographs. Think about your records. Think about the media industry. You store that data for a longer time. And this great big pool of data being generated by all this technology is what fuels the data scientists and the next generation of the digital revolution. Data is the raw material and the product of the digital revolution. In 2025, 4.5 zettabytes of new archival storage will be required. And we have to shift the paradigm. It has to last longer. Currently, a hard disk has a life of 4 years. If you're storing hospital records for 100 years, that means you're doing a migration every 4.5 years. That's 25 migrations. You have to buy them. You have to buy new media. You have to move your data from old to new, which gives you the chance of losing data. And this is repetitive. You keep continually going on. We have to start examining the power budget. Today in data centers, 8% of the power generated in USA goes to power data centers. And we got to get that in control because it's supposed to be 13% by 2030. Speed and access are important. Security we'll talk about. Reliability and durability I mentioned earlier. And then life and compatibility, which is a big benefit for our product in that we're projecting a life of 100 years. So you get away from all that remastering and your data. You can use your data longer and it stores easier.
Okay, Steve, well, you have 1 minute.
I have 1 minute. Okay. We have quite disruptive pricing, $3 a terabyte. This is the current electronic media. I'm going to go pretty quick. And this is kind of our unmatched benefit. We keep data alive, affordable, long-lived, immutable, viable, and eco-friendly. I'm not going to talk about team and culture, and that's my last slide then. And yes, we are fundraising. We're starting that process. Actually, just agreed to do it this week with the board. And this is how you contact me if you would like to have a further conversation. Nancy.
Thank you very much. Just fascinating. I think you did a great job in defining the problem. Can you tell us a little bit more about your go-to-market strategy?
Yes. Right now, the plan that we would do is, so the storage industry is broken up to about 15 major players that resell various solutions. And so we are talking to both the large optical and the HDD, some of the magnetic companies about inserting our product in their product line. Most of them have one part of the pyramid. They're either in the top with an SSD solution that is for fast performance, or they're at the bottom and they have for an archiving solution, or they're in the middle, which is that nearline stuff, which is primarily HDD. So we're partnering with those companies to help them fill out their stacks. The goal of us is not to build a huge sales force. It's to have a small sales force selling to these large companies that will resell our product. And we have those dialogues happening right now. Because I should throw that in.
Where are you in the cycle? Have you, is it a working prototype? Do you have a baked product? Is someone
So
using it?
we have two products, right? We have the disk, and then we have the optical pickup unit or the drive. And you have to build them at the same time. So with materials, the film production and disk, we're prototyping, we're doing alphas, betas, various different levels of product, different chemistry. We can experiment with different chemistry like nanoparticles that allows greater density. We're in the process now of finalizing a drive. We have a tabletop drive that lets us do the testing. And now we're going out to bid with various contractors to bring the first alpha and beta to market. It's still, I'm guessing, 2 years before we're commercially available. 2.5.
So you're talking about a 100-year life cycle, and yet we know the craziness and the rapidity at which we're changing formats. So why are you saying it's 100 years? What kind of testing have you done around like the polymers and making sure that it's going to be accessible?
Okay, so on the disk and the film material itself and the substrate, the polymers, we do advanced aging tests. We're spun out of the Case Western Reserve University, and we utilize their labs to do the polymer research. And we can also leverage quite a bit off of the Blu-ray industry, the CD, DVD, Blu-ray, archival disc industry that's available today, and their projections of data. So we do advanced, I mean, it's not, I don't have a disc that lasts 100 years, but we can do accelerated aging tests to find that. The other advantage we have, which we didn't talk about, is our drives, as we add layers, and we go from an 8-layer per side to a 16 to a 32, the drives are backwards compatible. So just like today, your Blu-ray player can read a CD and DVD, future generations of the drive will be able to use the old media. So you will not have to, like you do currently with current technology, is migrate your data just to keep up with drive technology. Did that answer your question, Gene? Sorry.
It sure did. Thank you very much.
So I have a question. So this is incredibly compelling. Certainly, this industry is due for a disruption. in terms of storage, could you speak a little bit to, you had shared some commercial pricing. Can you speak and that you're not quite at prototype stage? So can you speak a little bit to what has to be true from a manufacturing cycle perspective to achieve what you want to achieve from a production and from a commercial pricing
The
perspective?
production of an extruded film. So we're in Ohio. In Northern Ohio, it's polymer capital of the world, right? The Rubbermaids of the world, the Avery Dennisons, these companies make adhesive, they make films. So the beauty of our process is the film itself, in terms of production, is very inexpensive to make. Now, it took us 3 years to figure out how to do it, but now we're making it using, this is a 14-inch wide film that we're producing. We're about to put an order down on a 2-meter wide extruder that will do the same thing that's 2 meters wide. And you look at the variable costs in that manufacturing, the polymers are pretty much standard polymer product. The substrates are standard also. And we're using essentially spoonfuls of fluorescent dyes or quantum dots or nanoparticles into that. So there's a high comfort level in that we'll be able to produce this at a very low cost. $3, we did this analysis for some of the big hyperscalers. Their question right out of the gate is, how do you get to $1? And we had to show them a roadmap to get to $1. And this is where they want to be with their long-term with their products. And for in terms of production side, we're very comfortable that we can get ourselves to $1 per terabyte.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. There are, and thank you, judges. There's a question from the audience. With the big cloud providers using a lot of storage, how does your technology integrate with the cloud provider?
The cloud providers are all looking for longer life and cheaper storage. If you saw, it was just recently announced that Amazon, their storage business was $9 billion in 2020, and it's projected to be $11 billion in 2021. Huge market, the large hyperscalers, the top 7 buy about 40% of all storage products in the world. We have a regular conversation with them. They look at, if I can drop my price from that I'm purchasing from 10 to 3, that's pure margin for them. And the fact that I don't have to remaster and move forward, it just creates greater economics of scale for them. And so it's kind of an exciting time to work with them.
Yeah, great answer. Well, thank you very much, Steve. We'll move on then. You can stop sharing your screen then, and we can move on to our next finalist, Dr. Sidker Zakir, the founder of and CEO of Histofy. Sorry about that.
When patients are diagnosed with cancer, the first thing they think about is, I'm dying. In low and middle income countries, the cancer diagnosis is like a death sentence.
Dr. Zakir, we're not seeing your screen properly.
Oh,
That's good.
Do you see it now? Okay, I'm sorry. So when patients are diagnosed with cancer, the first thought they bear in mind is, I'm dying. In low and middle income countries, cancer diagnosis is like a death sentence. I'm Sidker Zakir, a physician and CEO of Histofy. At Histofy, we capture and process data and deliver insights to physicians and researchers to optimize treatment outcomes. So the late diagnosis of cancer leads to increased morbidity and mortality, driven by 2 factors: limited clinical resources and the high cost of technologies. These factors lead to loss of data, and physicians fail to gain deep insights into the cancer, resulting in secondary chain events, the suboptimal treatment and uncoordinated care. We all can imagine what is the outcome happens. So at Histofy, we capture and process data and distributes insights in real time to physicians and researchers in cancer care to optimize treatment outcomes. Previous slide, please. Our solution is a no-cost transformation process to digital ecosystem. We offer a pay-per-use business model for our customers, who become our partner providers or HPPs. We serve our partner medical facilities with the platform and a pathology slide scanner. Nevertheless, we are scanner agnostic. Any medical center with this scanner can work with our modular solution. HPPs use our mobile app to support their patients in navigating the journey to cure. So Histophy platform is HIPAA and GDPR compliant. All outsourced clinical and diagnostic AI apps are CE-IVD or FDA approved. Our regulatory compliant mobile app collects real-world evidence. Our marketplaces in developing countries are 95% paid out of pocket. Our partner providers charge their patients and reimburse our pay-per-use fee electronically. Our net revenue is $15 per patient, contributing to 25% of our income at the digitization stage. The digitization at low cost ramps up other incomes from diagnostic and treatment planning stages. Finally, the mobile app subscription at $10 per patient per month, along with a nurse navigator, helps coordinate patient care. So we are saving time and saving lives by saving time and cost, and lead patients to the treatment plan at a 70% faster turnaround on the left side of the screen and more than 50% lower cost. We selected 25 countries in 4 continents from our more than 2 decades of peer-to-peer relationships in digital health and telemedicine. Our TAM is $3 billion in a population of 8+ million annual new cancer patients. SAM is 125 million from 1 million patients we plan to serve each year from 2024, with an average revenue of $125 per patient. We are commercially launching our MVP for 4 paid clients who are our early adopters. Strategically, we targeted 300 customers or HPPs. Our HPPs will serve patients from smaller clients in their geography. We can compare the cancer care ecosystem with a hexagonal relay racetrack. Our competitors cover 10% of the track and ask for an annual licensing fee of $120,000 per year, which is not realistic in developing country scenario. So whereas we cover 50% of the track as shown on the right side with no down payment, that is any medical facility, if they have qualified medical professional, we shake hands with them at 50% point of the ecosystem, a very practical approach. The competition in North American and European markets is fierce. Competitors are happy to serve clients equipped with Histophy platform. Many competitors partnered with Histophy to get access to our marketplace. Besides me,
okay, you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute left.
Besides me, we have 2 women co-founders, Laura and Aksana. Laura is a US Navy veteran. The founding team is a trifecta of diversity. We have 4 other passionate and experienced executives who are highly qualified in the medical and IT fields and collectively moving Histophy forward. We are working inside the rectangle marked by blue dotted lines at current pre-revenue stage of our company. We are raising $2 million seed fund to launch our commercial MVP in 10 countries. For the next 18 months, we are focused on MVP launch to finalize product market fit, launch our mobile app, and creating a repeatable customer acquisition strategy to scale up further. We aim to reach 25 country markets before the first price round. I waited more than 2 decades for the right time, technologies, and infrastructures. I'm a native of Bangladesh, and I lost my father to lung cancer in 2001 miserably. However, we are not early enough for the patients in the low and middle income countries. We are a pandemic late. We are eager to place Los Angeles on the global map with the next generation of cancer care ecosystems and digital biomarkers. Thank you very much, and I'm ready for the questions.
Thank you. Yeah, time for judge questions.
Hi, this is Jane. Really excellent presentation. So the data that you're getting, how are you? I saw briefly on one of the slides about HIPAA data. how are you protecting that data, and how are you ensuring to the, I guess it's the healthcare companies rather than patients directly that are
Yes, as
getting
our
access to that
platform
data?
is actually ready for US market as well, but we focused on the rest of the world first. So it is HIPAA compliant, and all the clinical diagnostic and the treatment AI applications are already CE-IVD, which is European approved, regulatory approved, or FDA approved for clinical and research use. And for the privacy, hardest part is the GDPR privacy protocol. So we have engaged lots of resources behind that privacy issues. And in data sharing across the border, there is a question. So the most difficult country is China. Even China allowed from last year during the beginning of the pandemic, to transfer their cancer patient data across the border to United States, because time is different, and we learned fast from this pandemic.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zakir. Can you explain a little bit more about these partner providers and how you've targeted them, and how what is an ideal partner provider for you?
Yes, excellent question. First of all, our clients are hospitals or pathology labs, where most of these biopsies end up. And we chose 25 countries because of a historical relationship. And I worked with University of Nebraska Medical Center and expanded their cancer care program using my software to 55 countries of the globe, from Africa, Asia to Latin America. And in those experiences, we have applied everything, all the insights we developed from there. So it's a personal relationship with 300 number. Why 300 number? It's because we cannot maintain the control of the quality of the services if it is too many in number. So there are other filtering mechanisms where geographically smaller clinics will use services from our partner providers. So it's a very close partnership protocol we are using.
Okay, any other questions? We have some questions in the Q&A. Dr. Zakir, could you describe how AI or other innovative technologies are integrated with your business model?
Yes, and we didn't invest behind AI technology development because our competitors already invested almost $4 billion. So with a couple of $1 million, we are just a peanut. So what we did, we licensed their patented AI technology and integrated into our platform. So when you go to our competitor, they will ask you an annual licensing fee. But you are using the same AI for international marketplace using a pay-per-use model. So this is where we successfully negotiated with these big boys in the market.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Another point I should add, the AI and the platform which are existing in North American and the European countries are purpose-built for these markets. Those are not suitable for the developing world market. Histophy is the only one platform so far I can see, but we will have copycats in going forward.
I see. Well, that's the last question. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you all for your kind attention.
Thanks. So let's move on to our next finalist from Impact Finance, Boris Cousteau. Boris here. Okay, we're.
Actually, it's Axel Bonello from Impact.
Oh, Alex.
Can
okay.
you hear me?
You'll be speaking today? Great.
Yes, exactly. I'm just not able to share my screen, actually. It works before, but not now.
Have you tried to refresh your browser? Sometimes that fixes it.
So I'm back. Can you hear me now? Yes, that's great. So sorry for that. I don't know. It worked before. So let me please share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
So what if data had a real impact? Last August, the Wall Street Journal published a study on 30,000 ESG, environmental, social, and governance ratings. 60% of them were either non-comparable or literally opposite. How can finance be sustainable and part of the solution with poor quality data on the companies they invest in or lend to? I'm Axel Bonaldo, Head of Business Development at Impact, the first independent impact rating agency. Impact is a French and Canadian fintech created in 2017. We are a mission-first and impact company, B Corp certified since the beginning. Our mission is to help banks and asset managers make more sustainable decisions by providing them with qualitative impact data of their assets that go way beyond ESG. We are aiming to become the Standard & Poor's of impact. The main challenge today of the financial sector is having access to universal open source, rigorous and comparable impact data. With the combination of technology and human impact analysts, we try to solve the main issues brought by the first generation of extra financial rating agency, the usual suspects of ESG rating agencies. They only focus on negative impact reduction. Impact analyze companies with a 360-degree view of their negative and positive impact to provide the full picture of our clients' assets' impact. The second issue is the lack of transparency with in-house methodologies working as black boxes. The third issue is the lack of comparability with in-house methodologies as well. We chose to operationalize the impact management project standard created and used by more than 2,000 international experts, such as SASB, GRI, UNEP, OCDE, the World Bank, which is 100% open source and the most rigorous on the market today. The market is huge and growing fast, as you can see, and it won't stop. Today it is about 145 trillion US dollars. Regulators such as the SEC, ESMA, two organisms that we currently are working with, are pushing for more comparability and transparency when it comes to impact. We are already there in the market with several products to answer that demand. We score and analyze the portfolios companies of our clients on the IMP, the Impact Management Project Framework, and provide them with the impact data on our SaaS platform with impact statements and impact scores, so they are able to make more informed and sustainable investments decisions. We are also launching a family of the first impact indices in the world used for ETFs and index funds. Our business models are recurring and sticky revenues with long-term contracts from 3 to 7 years between 7 and 15 bips basis points on the asset under management of our clients. Our scale-up plan is in 2 phases. The phase 1 is to reach critical coverage of companies in the next 18 months with the combination of important productivity gain with technology integration, BI, ML, etc., fully automated clients, online onboarding, growth of our internal impact analyst team. The phase 2 now is when the market and the regulations are stabilized, we'll be ready to extend our impact analyst team with an accredited analysts network with a productized platform and database. Impact is the first to market with a human augmented intelligence database that is regulations ready, offers a user-friendly and customizable platform for our clients on either listed and private companies. Our competitors will have to spend a lot of money and time and efforts to catch up. Here are the faces of Impact's managing team. I will skip it, unfortunately, because I don't have much time left. But if you're interested to meet us, let me know. We'll get a coffee all together. We have more than 30 clients with big actors of the financial sector, such as Franklin Templeton, Societe Generale, JP Morgan, Asian Development Bank, Natixis. And we aim to reach $6 million revenues in April 2022. 65% of it is already signed and plan to reach $200 million by 2029. If you liked our story, we are currently raising a Series A, $10 million from Impact and Tech VCs. Thank you all for listening. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Alex. That was super interesting. Now time for some judges' questions.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. You've been around since 2017. Tell me about the lead time for sales. How easy is it to sell your product? You're in charge of sales. Talk to me about sales.
Yeah. How do we work? And a little bit more information about the cycle of sales. What we do actually in the first phase with the clients, we do a proof of concept on a small scope, either 100, 200 companies, and we can deliver them quite quickly. So our clients is used with our data, they are trained with our data and know how to use it. And after that, we extend the scope for 500, 1,000, 2,000 companies. I can give you an example with the Asian Development Bank. We started with 50 companies. We delivered the impact statement and impact score of these 50 companies in 2 months. And we are now finalizing a contract to take 10 bips on a $1 billion fund. So this is how we do. And actually, the life cycle is quite short.
So I've seen a few companies that feel similar. You say you're first to market, so I'm curious how you make that assertion. But it seems very challenging to say we're the standard. Everybody would like to be the standard, and that's not always an easy thing to achieve. So I'm curious how you think about the competition and how you make yourself the one and not one of the many that gets rolled up into the next guy's the one.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, David. I don't want to be the only one. We don't want to be the only one on the market. Today on the ESG rating agency, there are 3 of them sharing 95% of the market. We don't want that. But we are not also saying that we are the standard. We are using what is the standard, which is the IMP, which is way different. Why is the IMP the standard when we want to measure the impact of companies? It is because it is built by all the standard setters across the world, such as GRI, such as SASB, and they all developed that framework in order to, I would say, answer the issues brought by having no standard during the last 10 years. So this is why they built the IMP. This is why in 2017, we chose to operationalize the IMP standard. but we are not the standard. I'm quite happy to see other players coming into the market and taking the IMP standard to measure and assess the impact of companies. We are fully happy with that. And as I mentioned before, we don't want to be the only one on the market.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
And maybe if I can add something, David, you know, I'm quite used to talk with, to pitch investors.
I'm not sure if you guys are able to hear me, but I will give it a go.
Yeah, Carter, could you just wait 1 minute? We're in the middle of another presentation. You're next.
Keep going, Axel.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'm in 30 seconds, Carter. I give you the mic. David, about the competitors. I'm often asked why ESG rating agencies are not doing what we do. They will, but they will not be doing that internally because it is a change into their database that is so huge that it will take for them a huge amount of time, a huge amount of money to do that internally. This is why in the last 12 months, we were approached by Morningstar, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch, because they know that the market is going there from ESG to impact, and they will do that externally. So this is a possible exit for possible investors.
And if we have time for one more quick question. So how are you doing a validation? Is it self-expression for their score, or are you doing a validation against it, or do you look globally or locally at the impact?
Yeah, this is an excellent question as well, Jean. So basically, for listed companies, we only use the publicly available data disclosed by the issuers because they have regulatory requirements to do so. So we collect the data from the issuers themselves, but it's not only that. It's not only self-declared, because we are using some recommendation engine into our backends to red flag if there are some inconsistencies, historically, sectorial inconsistencies with the data disclosed by the company. And if there is so, we will ask some documents actually to justify these data that is red flagged by our backend. For private companies, this is different. The process to collect the data is different because there are no the regulatory requirements are not the same. So we are using online and automized questionnaire to collect the data we need, and after that, the same process goes to verify the data, contextualizing it, and benchmark it with historical and sectorial and their peers to be able to know if there are some inconsistencies or not with the data disclosed by the companies. I hope that answers your questions.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
So you had mentioned one of the obstacles to adoption was in-house teams using black boxes. Could you speak a little bit to how your offering would be fundamentally different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are two things to understand. The first thing is the ESG rating agency developed in-house methodologies because there was no standard in the market, right? So they did that. And this brings a lot of complexity for asset managers, because if they use Sustainalytics for 5 years and after that MSCI, they will get different ratings on the same companies. This is a big problem for them. This is what we are trying to solve. And so we are bringing transparency and comparability by using the IMP standard, because the goal of the IMP standard is to be 100% open source, evolutive, and created by the standard setters across the world. The second part of my answer is about the internal ESG analysis team within asset managers. They almost all of them have internal team to analyze ESG criteria of their portfolio companies. We do not replace them. We facilitate their work as per the credit analysis. They all have credit analysts internally, but they can always use S&P and Moody's to have their opinion on their companies. We are exactly in the same way, by not replacing their internal team, but helping them with more qualitative and quantitative data, and to help them to have a third-party validator of what they do.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's a very interesting presentation. We're waiting just a moment for Carter Russ to connect. So we'll just be delayed a couple minutes or so, I suspect. So I have a question for you, Axel, as long as we have a moment.
Sure.
Do you see your distributed database as your competitive advantage?
Actually, no. Our competitive advantage is about the expertise we developed for the 4 last years about impact data. We are building the first impact database in the world. And impact data is way different than ESG data. We don't want to compete with.
So I'll hand it off to you, Carter, CEO of Champions Round.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for bearing with me. I'm in the backyard of one of our investors after a meeting that we had. So thanks for bearing with me. And I apologize for any connection issues. But it's great to be here. It's awesome that you guys have given us the opportunity to present our company. Now, I wouldn't necessarily consider us to be on the forefront of data. We fall much more in the area of sports entertainment, but as a self-trained data scientist myself, it is always fun to be home at DataCon LA. But Champions Round is a social sports entertainment platform designed at introducing new social game modes for the next generation of sports fan. Now, we're a team of technologists and enthusiasts with decades of experience in sports entertainment, game production, video game production, and joined by an esteemed list of advisors in the space. But what we've noticed during our time as fans, and specifically as players of fantasy sports, is that every single year we rally together for the same annual pilgrimage. Once a year, we get together with our friends and we host a fantasy sports draft. We look forward to it every single year, but it only happens once a year. And it's one of the coolest things we can do as sports fans. However, without fail, we'll see this product that's designed to keep us engaged for months on end will lose a lot of our attention, either because our team isn't very good or our quarterback, our star player, got injured throughout the season. So us as fantasy sports enthusiasts no longer have anything left to do on our current fantasy sports teams. So where do we go? Our migration is typically to a daily fantasy sports platform. This is FanDuel, this is DraftKings. And these are compelling because you can play for one single day with the odds of winning $1 million prize pot. Sounds great, right? Unfortunately, your only motivation for being there is to win cash. You play by yourself, your friends are no longer there, and 98.7% of these cash prize pots are won by the same 10% of players. So if you're anything like me, you lose money and you quit. Now, completely fed up with this space, I go to watch esports. Decide maybe I'll go watch the League of Legends Championship Series. Supposed to be the next big thing, and it's filling stadiums. Only to realize that I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at when watching an esport title. So, to surmise, fantasy sports, specifically for cash, right now is an unrewarding experience where the vast majority of players lose money, and it's forcing operators to pay exorbitant expenses to acquire players, and is churning quite rapidly. Lastly, esports, competitive video games, lack the proper frame of reference to really make them enjoyable or observable for the casual sports watching fan. So, Champions Round is designed to solve for this, and our goal is all about introducing new verticals into the fantasy sports space, but games that bring you closer together with your friends. Everything starts from a chat OS. Whether it's with your friends, like-minded people, group of Jets fans, come together in a chat, think Slack for free and paid sports games for the first time, and invite your friends directly to our brand new verticals. For traditional sports, we break fantasy sports seasons into smaller month-long rounds. It's communal game modes that allow you and your friends to opt in time and time again. And we also offer these same rounds with monetary prizes, giving the best odds to win money in fantasy sports while ensuring there's always something for groups of fans to do. When it comes to esports, our entire business model is predicated around expanding its audience. We introduce simplified esports contests that take place whether you're watching in Twitch or whether you're watching in venue. Go watch major tournaments. You don't need to be an expert. And as you're watching play, we introduce you to simple concepts that allow first-time viewers to understand what is actually happening in the action, which thresholds are good or bad, all while giving you skin in the game and a reason to care. Naturally, it has existing
Looks like we lost him.
We'll give him a minute to reconnect. Okay, 30 more seconds. Okay, well, we lost our last finalist there, but we heard about half of his pitch, I think. Well, thank you, Carter. So we'll wrap it up for today's Startup Showcase. Let's give the presenters a hand, and well done. And let's give the judges a hand. Bravo! Thank you for your questions and your insight there. So you're all invited to the networking event, which starts at 5:30 tomorrow, and the winners will be announced at 6 p.m. Please see the Hopin app schedule for details. And to everyone in the live audience, thank you for being a part of this year's DataCon LA. Before you leave, one more ask, please click the link in the chat box to provide feedback on the Startup Showcase event. And have a wonderful day. And judges will convene in the Startup Showcase judging session.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.